Hi everyone, it is Sunday evening, just going on 6:30 Sunday evening, 25th of October. So we've obviously got the US elections pretty much around the corner, 9 days to go. And I'm just going to have a look at the week ahead. I'm going to have a look at the global, I beg your pardon, I was going to have a look at currencies, not the global indices. That'll be in a follow-up video. But having a look at what news is scheduled for this week. So there's nothing really Monday, nothing on Tuesday. I do think Bank of Canada, that may be worthwhile just being aware of there, certainly, and possibly the Bank of Japan outlook report, just monetary policy statement on that might create a bit of movement, especially as JPY might be close to key levels. And then essentially the ECB press conference this week. This will be Thursday, just past midday, and having a look at that, there might be a bit of movement on that. And other than that aside, I'll really just have a look at the markets and see what else I expect in terms of existing trends. There is definitely the overhanging kind of pressure of the upcoming elections, and then we'll have a look at that as well. So having a look at the US dollar index, what we have, although we technically have a downtrend on the daily, we kind of have a downtrend on that weekly. So we have the effectively, we can see prices now testing up against that 93 level and looking a little bit bearish. And also you could argue that we're kind of stuck within 95 to 90 range with a bit of a bearish candle there. So overall, the dollar index is leaning slightly to the downside. What I did want to mention is that it's my expectation, because we kind of were in a downtrend at this period here, going from about the end of July through to about early September, then all the way back up and all the way back down. This is something I was waiting for a while, looking for price to come back up to test 95, back into this highlighted blue area, and then continuing down. So most of that pretty much makes sense. In other words, that we have a weakening US dollar, but overall, my expectation is over the coming days, and at least until we get closer towards the 3rd of November, that the market might very well range. So what I mean by that is, technically what could happen here is that the US dollar could decide to break back up over this level, head back up to 94, and that there will ultimately be no fixed range. That is something I'm certainly prepared for. And for intraday traders, this is going to produce a lot of, for the newer plus medium kind of experienced traders, this is going to produce a lot of trading losses, or higher number of trading losses. So because of that, what's going to happen is the market is not really going to potentially not stick to any particular trends, and then it's going to change trends, and so it's going to stay largely within this range. That's kind of I think that's a reasonable expectation. But to recap, overall the dollar index does appear to be hitting lower. So looking at euro dollar there looks nice and bullish. That looks very nicely set up to hit higher. Again, that weekly is in an uptrend. It's now had a nice pullback. It hasn't really connected with that 302, which would have been nice. To me, that would, and 1.15 would make a lot more sense. So should there be a scenario now where temporarily the dollar strengthens and the euro finds its way coming back down towards that, then finds support and then carries on up, I will be perfectly happy with that. That would also make the monthly do a breakout and a retest. I would be happy with that as well. So in the meantime, I'm just going to be prepared for price. Currently, it looks like it wants to push up towards that 1.2 level. And at the same time, of course, there is this possibility, I've highlighted it in orange, that price might potentially range this week. So one of the confirmations, if it's going to range, is that it will fail to really break out past this 1.19 level, 1950, and that it will start to head back down towards that 1.17 level. If it does do that, there's no real reason for it to do that. So if it does do that, that would support the idea of ranging being kind of here, and that would tie it to the elections coming up. Okay, having a look here at sterling. So sterling is largely range bound. I don't really expect much from this. It is producing high lows, high highs. It is more bullish than bearish, but it definitely is not a strong trend. So price is coming back down. So Monday, Tuesday, I'll be looking for a nice bullish candle here to see if it does indeed do a swing low and head back up. So if that does, that supports again that idea of a weaker US dollar, stronger GBP. The Australian dollar against US dollar is showing no clear trend at the moment on the daily. And it has produced a lower high in the weekly and produced a bullish candle. So this, again, also the monthly, the daily and the weekly, I beg your pardon, the daily and the weekly charts, both of those indicates range-like behavior. Okay, whereas the monthly here has also broken this previous downtrend and has no new trend. It hasn't really decided what it's going to do. So if anything, Australian dollar, US dollar, I would really keep an eye on those. I'd like to see that break below this, or like ultimately break above these previous highs, but that is certainly one I'm going to be cautious of. Then looking at Kiwi dollar, US dollar, that's also climbing to the upside. It's still managing to look more bullish than bearish, but it's actually stuck halfway between sterling, GBP, US dollar behavior, and Australian dollar, US dollar behavior. It has no clear trend at the moment. On the monthly, it has an uptrend on the daily, and it has a slightly bullish potential head and shoulders if price does ultimately come down and break below the 0.65 level. We'll see that happening. So just to sum up those ones so far, none of them look really super fantastic. Moving on to dollar yen. So dollar yen I've been talking about for a while has slowly been creeping down. It's now at a key area where, of course, again, we've got that Bank of Japan this week. Could find price ultimately bounces back from that. But the longer term flow of price is definitely going to wants to push it out of this, below this level, down towards 100. And so there's quite a bit of pressure building up. You can see we've got a downtrend on the monthly, on the weekly, and on the daily. Basically, we've got this, and that's the pressure. It's creeping to the downside. But we also know that in the past, the Bank of Japan has intervened to push it back up above this level. So we are caught effectively between a rock and a hard place. But certainly, most reasonable expectation this week is to see that continue to head low. And it is likely then to produce a weaker US dollar. That's to support the idea of a weaker US dollar. Dollar Swissy. Also, trending lower, back down towards this level. Actually looks really good, even for intraday opportunities. We've got price looking, relatively speaking, this is not directly inversely correlated with the euro dollar. All right, they're not 100% the same. They're about 95% correlated, inversely correlated, I beg your pardon, but this is certainly more bearish. This chart is more bearish than the euro US dollar is bullish. This is very keen to head down and test that 0.9 level. So all of that, especially when it overlaps with the ECB, because of course that's Switzerland combined with Europe, that could find its way there by the ECB conference, which is Thursday, as I said, but that's several days away. So I think actually it's reasonable to see it head lower. So that, again, supporting that, you have a weaker US dollar, and dollar CAD, not really looking the same way. It's come all the way back down, and this one looking sort of the least bearish of the bunch. It has got a downtrend on the daily and may break below this 1.31 level to find its way down to 1.3. So we'll really see that. So a lot of these charts are showing the potential for a weaker US dollar, so that makes the most sense. And some of them have slightly better, slightly more clarity. That would be euro dollar versus dollar Swissy, and maybe dollar yen than the rest. So I'm leaning towards a weaker US dollar in the coming week, and then we'll have a look at any of the other crosses that are showing some intraday trending opportunities.